not supposed to go to any other website. But essentially, if you think about it, it's still IE with all the shortcuts that would otherwise be accessible over IE, unless someone has explicitly went ahead and hardened the IE settings. So the first thing that I try and do is pull up the history. If I can pull up the history, see any other site in the history, then I can go to that particular site and from there jump to potentially a search engine. If I can get to a search engine, then I can search for any tools that I want. I can go to any malicious site that I want, and then hopefully download the tools and execute them on the local system. Pulling up the history is really not complicated. It's just Control-H. If you press Control-H and if it works, then in that case, go through the history, see where people have been. In most likelihood, they won't be able to go. You won't be able to go any place but the original site, because the users will not be able to go there. But if the administrator has ever been on the box using this user account, and if he's ever been on the search engine, then you can get there. So if you just press Google, you can get to Google. From Google, you can search whatever tools you want. So you can say just download and map, and you can download and map. The interesting thing here, if on the search engine is, say, can you guys hear me? No? Okay. So, all right, I'll just speak a little louder. I think we are fine now. All right, so with the search engine, the interesting thing is, essentially this is IE. So what you can do is, if you can get to search engine, then you can host your client-side exploits, whether it's on Acrobat PDF, or whether it's Flash vulnerabilities, or any of the other client-side vulnerabilities, or even for IE for that matter. Just host it on your own particular publicly accessible web server. Use search engine to go to your web server and then compromise the client. So that way you'll be able to open a reverse shell from the Citrix system to your web server. That's one thing. The other thing is, I'm not sure if you guys have heard about JavaScript port scanners. So if you can execute JavaScript on the system, again, just go to your own web server, start executing JavaScript. Using that JavaScript, you can scan the internal network. You'll know what are the systems on the internal network, what are the ports that are open on the internal network. So that's the other thing to do. So this is just pulling up the history. The other thing to do is, if you can pull up a new instance of the browser, then the chances are that new instance of the browser is going to be an unrestricted instance of the browser. So that means that you'll have unrestricted access to the address bar and the menu. So the way you can start a new instance of the browser is just Control-N, or if you say Shift left click, then that thing is going to launch hopefully in a new instance of the browser. So the way I did this is press Shift key and then left key, click left mouse click. So it started a new instance of the browser, and here again I can just go any place and download my tools. So what typically I would do is go to my FTP server, so here it is. I mean, I'm hosting a publicly accessible FTP server. If I can get the address bar, then I just directly go to the FTP server, grab my tool, and from here I'm just going to say run. I'm not going to do it from here because I don't really trust you guys. But I mean, but you could do it from a client side. You could do it from a kiosk because you truly wouldn't care about that kiosk, no matter what that executable was. So that's again something to consider. The other shortcut that we try, and this has worked for us pretty well in the past, is just Control-O, which is shortcut for file open. If you say Control-O, then again you can type the name of any URL that you want, go to that URL, just repeat the same drill. But the more interesting is the browse button here. If you can click the browse button, and if it works, then you will be able to access the local file system. You will be able to access the local, navigate the local file system, and from here potentially launch any executable that you want. So I'm just going to show an example for cmd.exe. So say even if I didn't have any of the partitions listed, could directly give the partition and the folder name. Here change the file types from HTML to all files, then search for command.exe, right click on command.exe and then say open. So here again command.exe was not one of the published applications on the Citrix server, but I am able to launch that, and once I have the command shell, you know again the drill. You can again go launch any other process. If you have the necessary privileges, then pull up the cache, add users, open the firewall up, do whatever you like. Alright, so that was file open. The other thing is a lot of kiosk systems are hooked to some or the other printer. Typically they allow users to make print copies of whatever, the documents, typically web pages, yes, even web pages, say if it's a just an online ticket or something like that. So if you can pull up the print wizard, Control P, as simple as that. If you can pull up the print wizard, then say print to file. You print to file, say apply, and then print. Once again, it's not going to send the file, the web page, it's to a printer. It's going to try and save it on the local file system. Once you have the file navigate box here, just go to any partition, go to any file, just change the file type from PRN to all files. That didn't happen. Here, and then once again, just if you want to launch FTP, just search for FTP, right click and say open, and that's it. I mean, it's just going to launch that executable for you. A lot of times what happens is some of the clients explicitly turn off permissions from one executable, whether it's command shell, FTP, TFTP, but really the trick is not to have access only on command shell. The trick is to be able to go anywhere on the local file system and then launch that process. And again, I'll show some other examples in which maybe you don't even need a particular executable. You can just write 2 lines of code and then launch, just do any malicious stuff on the local file system. Maybe you want to delete files, maybe you want to access someone else's files, and if necessary hardening has not been done, then you can again navigate the local file system and get access to those files. Okay.
So it's not enough you block command or exe, you really have to block other tools.
Nice.
From FTP using exclamation and execute commands locally as well.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Do you have anything for if, for example, a kiosk doesn't have a keyboard? You guys found anything that's mouse only that?
So mouse only, you can pull up the, if it's like a Windows system, then you can pull up the virtual keyboard if you can access the control panel. So that's the other way to do it. But if you only have a mouse to work with, then what you can try and do is somehow crash the browser. Now it becomes really difficult to crash the browser if you are not allowed on any other website, right? I mean, if it's a local website, then it'll be really hard, but it's not ruled out. If you crash the browser somehow, then you can get potentially access to the desktop view. From the desktop view, you can launch a virtual keyboard, and then you can just use your mouse to type it. It's going to be really slow, but it will work. The other thing that we do is just pull up the help system. Most of the applications, again, have some or the other way to provide help. If it hasn't been turned off, you can just press F1, go to the help system. Here on the top left corner, click here and then go jump to URL. Once again, you'll be able to type any URL that you want, but you will also be able to type any path on the local file system. So you can say documents here. This is the local file system on this particular server. If you want to go outside on the internet, if you want an address bar, then go to web help and then click on support, or just click on any link, and then a new instance of the browser is going to pop up with just the regular, this is an unrestricted browser with the address bar and all the tools and everything.